All right. It is 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and I want to welcome you to the Geotech Center Virtual GIS Day, or for many of you, welcome you back to the Geotech Center Virtual GIS Day. My name is Ryan Kelly, and I am zooming in from Lexington, Kentucky. I'll be the moderator for this session. Um, I'm working in conjunction with the Geotech Center. Please visit our website to learn more about our curriculum, resources, professional development opportunities, and other geospatial initiatives, including model courses, conferences, regional workshops, and webinars. We also have virtual GIS office hours offered through the Geotech Center. So today's session is going to be GIS and powerful new avenues for the classroom and beyond. And the host of the session is going to be Anita Palmer. I'll give you a brief bio on Ms. Palmer. Anita Palmer is a past middle and high school technology and social studies teacher who is the CEO of the GIS, etc. Started in 1999 to provide geospatial professional development, curriculum, and support through K through 12 and higher education teachers and students. Over this past year, she has worked with Cengage and Esri on the GIS unit activities for the newly released AP Human Geography text, and she is the 2019 and 2020 National Geographic Fellow working with the National Geographic Education and Digital teams on the next generation MapMaker tool. So without further ado, I am going to turn this over to Anita. So Anita, you have the floor here at this point.
All right, thank you so much, Ryan and the Geotech Center. Can you see my screen? And you can hear me?
Okay. I can see and hear you, yes.
Perfect. All right. Well, welcome everybody, and I look forward to spending the next 40 minutes or so with you. And thank you for that nice introduction, Ryan. So I've been busy the last year or two. Well, actually, I've been busy the last 25 years. But anyway, let's kind of dig into two new really cool tools that I've been working on. So with that being said, let me just there. For the last year, I've been working with Cengage / National Geographic Learning and on their Human Geography, A Spatial Perspective, next edition AP Human Geography text and their learning modules. So the vision for what they had, for what they came looking to me to do, was to provide some interactive GIS story maps to reside in their MindTap digital platform and allow students to engage in hands-on mapping activities that are related to each of their 7 units. After they're finished with that, these Esri story maps, these activities that I created, the students will have a 2-page interactive GIS story map retrospective activity. So that would encourage reflection and help them to connect their experience with the GIS activities with their core unit themes. So the format of these story maps that I created were to expose them to GIS in map-driven story maps. There are 7 units, as I had said. Each one of those unit story maps encompass a map application, a dashboard, and then associated hands-on activities with synthesis questions, etc. They're connected to the APHG essential knowledge questions and use the task verbs, etc. So it's really integrating and cementing what the students need as they're learning and preparing for their test. Most importantly, is that they really don't need to know how to use the GIS tools. As simple as we believe that, the tools are, if we've been using them for some time, it isn't necessarily as simple for them, and especially for the teacher who is really trying to wrap their arms around all of the content, the strategies, teaching at home, perhaps, etc. So minimal GIS tool knowledge required. And of course, if you are a textbook, if you use this textbook in your classes, you would be accessing these through their MindTap digital tools, but the world can use them on the EsriArcGIS.com site. So there was a really cool collaboration between Esri and Cengage. Cengage thought up the deal, what they wanted to do, and then they reached out to Esri, and Esri said, yeah, we'll support that. And so all of that's available for free to all of y'all. So what I'm going to do, I do want to give you a glimpse of these activities. I won't, without further ado, let me go in and we'll dip our toe into those. So you can see that we have 7 units, and the content for the initial app, the first unit is a little bit different in that it actually has 2 little mini activities at the beginning, one on regions and projections, and the second one, the dashboard, is on COVID-19. And so let me go ahead and go in. And these are what these activities look like. So they basically, the imagery is connected to the original imagery in the text. And so it just really provides a neat connection for the student. If you aren't using the textbook, it's lovely imagery. So the first activity, as you can see, this is a really simple map. It's in an app, and the student can work on regions. As you'll see, and bearing in mind that all of this content is absolutely covered in the Cengage materials in the human geography book. However, there are amazing, wonderful maps in the book, but what I did was I went in and I chose areas that I thought perhaps students could get some, get some hands-on experience with and really begin to think a little bit deeper about these particular content areas. So with that being said, this one is GIS maps in US region types. So this first one was the prototype originally, and it is kicking off the ideas of how we were going to present these materials. So we have an objective, essential knowledge statement. These are all directly taken from College Board materials for AP Human. And then we give these basic tools and tips on how to use the app. And then you'll notice there's just a very few icons for them to use. And then we get down to the geographic thinking. And throughout the geographic thinking, not only is there some guided instructions, if you will, but then the red, you'll notice these are task verbs. And so the questioning strategy is framed using the task verbs, which is aligned with the College Board APHG materials. So as it says, they can click in, this particular map has a layer list, and they can look and begin to explore functional, formal, and perceptual regions. The fun one, of course, is the Midwest. That one's fun because nobody agrees on what actually makes the Midwest, especially if you're in Ohio, you're going, what? And so anyway, so these are really rather fun and but simple. So we have bookmarks. You can zoom into different regions, and then of course turning layers on and off. And that begins to cement, oh yeah, I get to look at more data layers and layering data on top of the map, one map layer on top of the other. At the end of each little mini activity, there is a synthesis question so that the students can synthesize what they learned and and begin to, it really does set them up for the way that they will be answering questions on the AP test. So this particular one has a second little mini activity. This one is on projections, and it's a little slow. Remember that I'm on Zoom doing a projected map on ArcGIS Online. So that's, you're going to see that it can be a little bit pokey, but Zoom is going to color how quickly these are going to paint. So very, very short little activity on that. Now, the interesting part about this is when I was doing this, the U.S. had no cases of COVID. I found actually Charlie Fitzpatrick, one of the education team. I happened to be at a conference, and he was showing this, and I'm like, oh, Charlie, you got to show me where that is. So I included that. So we really had to think about, this is a dashboard, and this is an interactive dashboard that is real time. It's constantly updating. It's the only real time dashboard that is included in the collection, because as you can imagine, we this needs to be, the efficacy of the product needs to stay for at least 5 years. So Esri is going to help Cengage in coming in and updating, and we will deal with this real-time data in a different way, but we unfortunately think this is going to stick around for a lot longer than we had originally anticipated. So that's the first unit. We will have time for some questions and in just a few minutes, but I think I'll have some time to give you a peek now that I've explained that. So Unit 2 is population and migration. And so we've got a world population factors map, and I'll just give you a little peek into the layers that we have. So this is population looking at life expectancy, infant mortality, total fertility rates. And of course, it's has all of the, what you would normally expect in your maps. And then I have included in this particular layer, and by pop-ups, have graphs, so that they can look at life expectancy from 1975 decadally up until 2016. And so that's population growth and decline. And then, so this one is a traditional unit in that it has the dashboard and it has the app. And so this particular dashboard, we're looking at asylum seekers and displaced persons in 2018. So I just want to remind you that this does look a little bit incongruous as far as like, well, that's a little bizarre. It doesn't really, I mean, populations and then asylum seekers, but these were really great places where I think students perhaps needed a little bit of augmenting their knowledge and for them to be able to understand a concept. So enhancing what was already offered in the text and their materials. So this particular one, I tried to do some kind of fun things. So if we want to click over in the list under total asylum seekers as far as destination country, it'll zoom in, and then our layers, the graphs will change, etc. Now, if we want to zoom in much closer to Brazil, you're going to actually see in, let's see here, Brazil, we probably don't have data for that. We have Colombia has actual, because remember, this is internally displaced persons down here. So in any case, the students can really explore the maps, and they get some other data layers to explore as well. So I'm going to then go back in, and the next one we're going to look at is language families and patterns in gender. So this one's kind of fun. There's a lot of material in the book, of some focus in the book on languages and language families. So I did some analysis behind the scenes and created language family clusters. And so I've used some pop-ups to give the students some additional information, just to augment what they perhaps had in their text. And then we have them really begin to explore at how these language families diffused. And then, of course, we've got pop-ups that they can explore. So that's language families. And this is pretty quick, I know, but you're going to be absolutely, you can go, I just want to remind you, you can go on to the Geotech website after the fact, and my PDF with links will be in there. And so all of these links will be available to you, and you can go explore and use to your heart's content if they're useful for you. So this is patterns in gender, and I was looking at gender and agriculture, and women-owned farms, etc. And so that is this particular activity. Now, one thing I do want to let you know at the end is that there are the answers. So as an instructor or a teacher, you can go and, or the student can really look and check their answers to see. Now, you decide as an instructor or as a teacher how you're going to use these, and yes, we've provided these answers, but perhaps the synthesis part is what you're going to grade if you happen to assign these or what have you. But it really is, were created to provide as much of a rich experience for the students to use GIS, to use story maps and all of the ancillary tools to be able to study human geography. And giving them the answers, we think, was actually, it's a good way for them to be able to kind of check their thinking. So the fourth, okay, yep, I've got 3 minutes. Let me see how quick I can go. We have political. So this one is Brexit. And I'll just show you very quickly. It compares the purchasing power per capita in the UK to their European Union referendum in 2016 on exiting the European Union. Now, purchasing power, interesting. This is such a fascinating map. At first, it looks like, oh yeah, everybody's kind of got the same, the same amount of money. However, when you look, or purchasing power, excuse me, but when you start zooming in, you'll begin to get this notion of their purchasing power, and then being able to compare that to who voted to exit. Is purchasing power was a part of that decision for folks, was the amount of money that they had, the amount of resource that they had to spend. So that's Brexit and the UK. And then we have the Fragile States Index. And so this one, I have a little side panel, and it talks a bit more about Fragile States Index and indicators. And then this particular list is in the order of the most fragile country by the 12 indicators or indices. And so you'll see that when you click on a country, you'll actually get there, the closer to 10, the more fragile you are, the closer to 0 or 1 is you're in a much better shape. So each one of these: security threat, factionalized elite, group grievance. I believe I gave you a link to be able to explore these online a little bit more. But here's it's rather an interesting interactive way to kind of look a little bit more at countries, and you'll see that you get all of these data as well in the pop-up. So that is agricultural lands and global land, fragile states, excuse me. Number 5, agricultural lands and rural land use. So we've got agricultural lands and production, and we're looking again, and this is over decadally since 1961 through 2016, and economic production, percent GDP, to begin to explore that as well. Our dashboard is global land cover change, and this global land cover change model is very, very interesting. We've also given protected lands in this particular one. When you zoom in, you can compare land cover to protected lands and begin to study that a little bit more. Very quickly, we're very close. Okay, I'm going to show you this one, number 7. I'll just challenge you to go take a look at that on your own time. But Unit 6 is rather fascinating. I'm going to jump in here very quickly and show you. So 1950 is what we're looking at as far as major mega cities or major cities. This is 1990. In 2020 and projected 2030, and we're looking at meta cities, are the brown cities in brown. And this particular dashboard is in redlining. It is heartrending, but it is absolutely something that we need for students to be able to look at. We have many, many communities that these redline maps have been created for. These were created by Esri out in their Living Atlas. And if you notice your graphs changing, I'll just do this very quickly. I'm going to go into the red specifically, sorry, where you cannot see anything but red. And then you're going to notice what happens to housing, owner occupied, etc., and the comparison between white population and black population. The one thing also that we are looking at is the repowering mapper sites, which give us the brownfields and Superfund sites, and where those are typically where Black neighborhoods have typically been built. We typically don't see Superfund sites and brownfields in the green and the blue neighborhoods. So anyway, I'm going to let you go take a look at number 7 on your own, which is the Human Development Index and the Gender Development Index. Very, very fascinating. But I'm going to open it up for questions and see if there are any questions out there.
Remember, everybody, please put your questions down in the chat window. Anita, I just want to tell you, this is some really great stuff, and this is just a wonderful way for students of all ages to really segue into what I would call a true technical GIS course, because this gives them a very positive experience. All right, we have
Awesome.
from Ali, fantastic. We don't have a question. We have an accolade. We go for accolades as well here. That's
okay. Thank you so much. Sorry, I'm having to go find my chat. There we go. So yes, we will have another opportunity for other questions, etc. And hey, Allie, how are you? The reading level of the materials. Vince, you know what? You caught me on that. However, it is AP Human. So, Allie, do you teach AP at all? Any AP classes, whether it be geography? I know your science. What is the reading level typically on the AP books, Allie? '12th grade and up, yeah. So yeah, this one is, and this is going to be a really interesting juxtaposition between my next presentation for you. Absolutely. Thanks, Allie. I assumed it had to be pretty high because they're preparing these students to take that AP test, and it is geared towards that higher critical thinking and content level. So anyway, sorry I couldn't actually answer that, but thank you, Allie.
Anita, we
Chris
have another
Wayne.
question from Chris Wayne. What is the advantage of dashboard over insights? And I believe that's a misspelling, over insights or hub.
Well, it actually, Insights was just really warming up when I was thinking about the dashboards. I think Insights, I could have done every bit as good a job with, so I like the question. I probably could have done every bit as good a job as with the dashboard. However, as I said, that proof of concept with that Johns Hopkins dashboard was there. So we thought that providing that same iterative opportunity for the students, and that they would begin to get used to the cadence. There's an app with an interactive map, and there's a dashboard, and that the dashboards all look different depending on the data and the maps that I created, but it was more of a cadence thing. So it's a really good question. Chris, I really would love to dig into Insights more. Dashboard definitely had the better of me several times, but that was okay. I kept at it. So anyway, I hope that there will be effective. So anyway, if there are no other questions, I'm going to pop over to my next.
One more question.
Can I use the can you use the dashboard in construction projects? Meaning, I'm not sure, Allie. Give me a little more. If you're meaning, can you take the dashboard and run with it and change it? I don't think that opportunity is going to be there because you're kind of almost locking the door as you go once you're wrapping them in the apps, etc. If we're talking truly about construction, like the job construction, I don't see why not. Did I hit those? So think about it, save it, and let's, we can swing back around at the end as well. So you are still all looking at my screen, correct? And we are now looking at the National Geographic Mapmaker, the next generation. So about 12 years ago, Nat Geo came up with Mapmaker Interactive, and it was a simplified interactive map that had data and where the students could come in and they could add data layers, et cetera, and they could annotate and draw on the map. It was Flash-based. And so even though it is still there, it is definitely on some borrowed time, and they're trying to make sure that it has a very long a lifespan as possible, because a lot of teachers use it. But for the last 2 years during my fellowship, this was exactly why I was put into this role, this fellowship role, if you will, was to work on Mapmaker. Not that there weren't other amazing people out there to do it, that I just happened to be available, I'm going to guess. So anyway, with that being said, what's the kind of the vision? What was the idea? That we know that maps are useful for students in keeping them engaged and result in better learning outcomes. We know it's an indispensable tool for students to learn geographic concepts, but not solely geography, but to be teaching geographically, to be teaching geography infused across the curriculum. And maps are an amazingly effective way to convey contextual data, GIS maps, and they're great tools for essential 21st century skills, right? Data analysis, critical thinking, data-driven decision-making, and spatial thinking. We all know that. However, there is still an incredibly large, robust number of teachers, educators, and students who do face a series of obstacles in using maps in the classroom. And it can be technology driven. It can be, it's just more than I can cope with to try and come up with new maps and data, etc. The design principles of MapMaker is, let's make it simple for teachers to get students up and running. And we wanted to fit this into the core student assignment workflows. So having teachers over the years, when I do professional development, I've always told teachers, you know what, I don't want to give you something more. I want to give you something that's going to help you teach what you already have to teach. And that's what this is about. Students are able to complete their core mapping tasks with little or no individual help. That's the goal. So MapMaker's content strategy is to provide base maps and layers, to provide maps already created, curated maps complete with layers, annotations, etc., and to provide lessons and activities that use those maps and those data and that are aligned to the National Geography Standards and to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Okay, so here I just want to spend 1 minute on. So this is kind of a fun little roadmap for MapMaker. We've been at this for almost 2 years, but there's been a lot of teacher testing and student testing, and then going back to the drawing board and really seeing what is this product of the next 10 or 15 years? What is it going to look like? Right now, so I won't go through specifically through all of these. Right now, we're in the scooter phase. And that's what I'm going to be showing you today. And you can go out and you can play with those as well. They're only view-only maps. There's no annotation available at the moment. And teachers will be able to log in and save maps that they can then give a link to their students and assign. But as we move through the bicycle and the motorcycle phase, we're going to get more opportunity for the teachers to be able to create and modify maps of their own, save them, assign them to students, and ultimately, with the race car, students will be able to create and modify their own maps within assignments that they've been invited to by the teacher. But as I said, there's no dates on here. There's 3 or 4 programming teams. They're all doing different sprints, etc. But this is our goal, is to get where students can come in and truly create their own maps, annotate them. And by creating their own maps, mixing and matching layers, to answer questions, etc. So what I'm going to do at the moment is take you on a little vision of the scooter version. And let me delete these just to take a little bit more consumption. There we go, off of our computer. And now, remember, it's a scooter. It's not a race car yet. Over on the side here, and they're working diligently to fix this, is that there is no rhyme nor reason to how these layers are showing up. This is also not the end product of how you're going to be able to dig into the layers. But for now, the layers, as fast as I'm creating them, and they're ideated, we're creating the verbiage that goes along with the data layers, and that they make it through legal. As fast as that's happening, I'm creating, where those data are being able to be included in this map. So let's take a look at, I passed it. This is why I'm like, please put these in order. There we go, volcanoes. So we have volcanoes by type. And if for some reason I wanted to adjust the opacity for this layer, and I could do that. I can hide my legend and show my legend. And then, of course, it's an interactive map. I can zoom in. I can read more over here on my card on volcanoes. I've got some material on volcanoes. And it explains the different kind of volcanoes, cinder cone, shield volcanoes, etc. And then, of course, I've got my credits and other subjects that you could teach them in and when these data were created. So you can also show and hide your data in there. Let's say I wanted to find Mount St. Helens. So we do have the place name database, and I start putting in here, and sure enough, I get Mount St. Helens. And I can then click on the link, and the pop-up very simply in this particular case gives us elevation in meters and feet and what type of volcano it is. So we can go ahead and zoom back out again. And let's say we wanted to include a tectonic plate boundary. So we have tectonic plate boundaries, and we can begin to click on these. And this one is a transform boundary. It tells you about it. And then we also have pie graphs, and that's explained in the pop-ups as well.
Anita?
Now, yes.
I know we're going to do questions at the end, but we have one that's actually very timely right here and now that it might be best addressed. Is there any way that one can switch out of the Mercator projection into, say, if they're doing a polar projection, a mnemonic projection or a Robinson, or are we pretty much locked into Mercator?
You're locked in, and we've talked about it. When you think about like the Moiety or some of the other projections, they're not contiguous, right? So you go like this, and then all of a sudden you're at the end of the projection. So until we actually, we thought that might be a bit confusing because it was such a good question. We really thought about this. So remember, our audience is absolutely these, teachers who are still using paper maps, folks who want just a pre-prepared interactive map that's ready to go. And so we're really trying to reach, I liken it to, we're really trying to reach the, it's that first step, it's that first stool, right? We're not even getting them onto the step ladder. At this point, it is let's get them comfortable with using interactive mapping. And so that's what we were thinking. So projections are a great question, and it's not necessarily something that might not be used in sometime in the future, but these maps are not able to be projected. So that's the short question. Was there another question? Oh, okay. Stephanie, we'll catch you on the flip side. Yes, we'll have plenty of time to answer that question. So let's just do one last thing. Let's go ahead and put global cities. So here we have global cities. We have tectonic plate boundaries. We have volcanoes. Honestly, I don't know if we have earthquakes in here or not. I think earthquakes are making their way. Ah, yeah, we do. Look at that. Large earthquakes. So now we have a story, right? We've got earthquakes, volcanic activity, near major cities, and tectonic plates. What could you teach? Throw it in the chat real quick. Have any ideas? Nobody has any ideas, but that's okay. I'm going to guess your brains are just exploding, right? With what you could be teaching. And the fact that the students can be looking at major cities and major earthquakes and what um, what effects that could have on a major city. Yeah, you could make a great heat map on the number of people living near a plate boundary. Um, but we really want students to begin to see that perhaps it's not such a big issue in the Midwest of the US, or maybe not on the Eastern Seaboard. Where are our, where's the biggest effect that earthquakes have on population? How do earthquakes, we can just hide that. How do earthquakes relate to tectonic boundaries, et cetera? So anyway, simple, we could explore that more, but this is MapMaker. For right now, it's the scooter version. Please feel free to go back to the PDF, and there are 2 links here that will get you to this. They will eventually, it will have a vanity URL, have its own website, etc. But by the end of this year, I think you'll be seeing a very clean version of MapMaker visualization tool, and where the teachers can save and actually log in, etc. Then these other sprints are coming fast and furious, and so next year, throughout the year, we'll be seeing progress on getting closer to that place where the students will be able to draw on their maps and annotate and create stories and save their maps. So, questions? Any questions on the first or the second? It makes no difference to me.
Don't be shy, folks.
Where on the Geotech Center website do we find the PDF? Ryan, do you know, are they going to be putting these?
Yes, they will eventually be putting up the hard copy files that presenters have been using. The date of that is still TBA. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit of time for them to compile all the data and put it on their website. If you go to the National Geotech Center, you will see a tab there. I believe it's called Educators or For Educators, and then pretty much from there, it's a pretty simple matter of just clicking on that tab and then going through and finding the proceeds from the GIS day.
Yeah, and recordings.
Yes.
You may have said that. Okay, cool. I went ahead and I put my email in the chat. So you are absolutely welcome to reach out. And to me, for any reason, I am just happy to discuss in email any one of a number of topics. And I'm happy to share links, etc. That unfortunately, MapMaker it's a messy link right at the moment. But we are within weeks of, really the wrapper being put on that. And so either go get that or the PDF, or write to me and I'll send you the PDF. But do go on to the site because there's going to be some amazing resources there for you. So we have 2 minutes. So Allie said her mind is exploding with all the possibilities. Good, I hope they're useful, Allie. Yeah, thank you all for being here. I know it was a little bit incongruous because we have this like high-end content, right? That's really been, that had some really specific goals of preparing those kids for that AP exam, but also to understand more deeply about our world through human geography. And this tool is to introduce the masses, is to get everybody to understand what we love about GIS and getting them to understand that they can begin to use this in their classroom. There will be leveled materials. So there will be elementary. Right now we're working on middle, and there will be high school as well. But we probably won't attempt that high school level until that tool is really more fleshed out. But it's quite usable at the moment. If you want to review, to be a reviewer, you have things you want to contribute, write to me and I'll make sure I get you a link and perhaps an email because they're always looking for teacher reviewers. And I don't know, there could be a gift card in there. Coffee card, I don't know. So anyway, I just really appreciate you all. I appreciate what you do. And I am honored that you would have spent an hour with me here today.
Well, Anita, this was an absolutely fabulous, fabulous webinar here from start to finish, based on the comments here from all these educators. It appears they concur. Just to wrap things up here, we are on track 4. The next session on track 4 will begin at 3 p.m. It's going to be humanitarian mapping. There's 2 other tracks that are open at 3 o'clock as well. Track 1 will be featuring integrated geotechnologies and European education. There is no session in track 2. And then track 3 will be creating a COVID-19 ArcGIS dashboard, which I have a feeling is going to be a little bit similar to what Anita was going over. They're probably going to be using that John Hopkins dashboard. So there'll be plenty of options here at 3 o'clock to choose from.
Yeah.
Without further ado, are there any last questions before we wrap things up?
If you're interested in dashboard, go to the other session because I only showed you the end product. I'm going to guess they're showing you kind of the meat. So.
All right. Going once, going twice. All right. We're going to go ahead and cease the session. So everyone be safe out there and enjoy the rest of the afternoon.